So, your friends made the poor decision of recommending you try League, but they're too lazy to explain the terminology needed to have even some semblance of understanding of this stupid hell chess game. Well, lucky for you, I've got nothing going on. By the end of this video you'll be so crammed full of terms you'll be looking like a sub to a dictionary. The first thing you need to do to play League is to hate League. I would honestly feel better about recommending heroin to someone because at least heroin addicts enjoy doing heroin. I've never once heard someone say they're having a good time in the too many years I've been playing this stupid game, though I have heard one of the nicer people I know relentlessly grief the person they were playing against to the point where I'll never see them the same way. I'm going to assume that the friend that sent you this video at least explained the main premise of the game and something about what lanes do, so let's just hop right into an alphabetical list of terms your friend is too lazy to explain. EDC is short for attack damage carry. It's the bot laner that focuses on having a high attack stat to absolutely stomp the other team. The alternative to an ADC is an APC, which is an ability power carry, which is the same but they focus on boosting the other of the two stats. AoE stands for area of effect, and it's a term used to describe abilities that affect a space on the map rather than a specific enemy. Examples of AoEs are resilience bombs, misfortune's ult, and climate change. This ties into another term which is CC, which stands for crowd control, and those are effects like stun or silence that don't damage the champion, but damage the player. A camp is where monsters appear in the jungle. CD is cooldown, which is how long it takes for you to be able to use an ability after you use it. CS is short for creep score. You can find it in the top right of your screen and it represents the number of minions you've had the last hit on. Getting the last hit is important for everyone but supports because that's the hit that gets you that sweet bonus gold. Last hitting does take time to get the hang of, but if you put the time in, you'll figure it out. It is a double-edged sword, though, because as your average creep score rises in League, it also rises in real life. DOT stands for damage over time. This applies to things like Ignite that don't do all their damage at once. Like how that time my bathing suit fell off in gym class is still damaging me to this day. DPS is short for damage per second. The early game is considered to be the first 10 to 15 minutes of the match. It's a lot like the early parts of The Office in that it's boring and we only stay around because everyone says it gets better even though it doesn't. Farm just means last hitting minions, building that fat CS. On the topic of fat, being fed means that you dunked so hard on your opponent that your amount of gold, your level, or your number of kills outclasses them like an average person's brain outclasses a League players. Given that you are watching this video, I think it's safe to say you're going to be the feeder for a while before you become the fed, but keep at it. The only people who'll be mad are the ones who see too much of themselves in you. To focus on a champion is to get all your team together in a team fight and beat that champ up first, you know, like bullying. Focusing happens when someone's been fed to the point where keeping them around in a team fight will almost surely result in them absolutely destroying your whole team. A gank is when someone comes into a lane from either the jungle or from a different lane to ambush the enemies in the lane. Ganking gives a numbers advantage and can change the momentum of a lane like a fedora will change the momentum of your social life in that it can improve it drastically, amert fellas. Kiting is when you attack while retreating by using the cooldown between auto attacks to retreat. A leash is when at the beginning of the game, you help your jungler kill the red or blue buff so that they can go jungle with more health in early game. MIA stands for missing in action, which is used when the enemy that's supposed to be in a certain lane isn't. If you use this you must drink even more glue than the rest of us because there's a whole ping dedicated to this. OOM stands for out of mana, and once again if you use this instead of just control clicking on your mana, you're a glue drinker. This is slightly more excusable since is just a funny sound, and that is the level of comedy League players have. Pathing is the order that the jungler travels around the camps. A poke is hitting your opponent from a distance and just chipping away at the health block little by little instead of doing something cool, like closing the game. To proc something is to trigger an ability. Like hitting Braum procs a stack of his passive ability. Pulling is when you move while a monster is focused on you in order to move it to a better spot. The red team would want to pull the dragons out of the pit so that the blue team can't see what's going on. A single target ability is the opposite of an O ability. It just hits one thing. A skirmish is any fight between teams that isn't a 5v5, 4v4, 3v3 TM fight, a 1v1 duel or an 15-1 pick. SUMS is short for summoner spells, and I regret using alphabetical order because I can't put this at the end and say well that just about sums it up. I'm still gonna say it anyways since it's the only joke I've made this whole video. Trading is the name for when you and your enemy deal similar amounts of damage to one another while farming in the laning phase. True damage is damage that can't be negated or diminished by armor or magic resist. An example is smite. Physical damage is reduced by armor and magic damage is reduced by magic resist. Who'd have thought? To zone means to control an area with your abilities or presence to stop enemies from approaching. That about covers it. Of course there are also acronyms used for specific items or wave management strategies, but I don't have the energy nor the interest to do that unless y'all need it. We got so close to having sums by the last term, which is the biggest disappointment since the new TFT season. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope some of the terms will stick with you. I'm going to try to make more videos after, but they don't have to be about League, so if you've got any games or shows or books or ECs you want to get your friends into but don't know where to start when you explain them, leave them in the comments, and if it's something I'm into I'll try to make something to hook your homies. Anyways, this is really my first attempt at content, and I'm looking to hop on that grind, so shooting a sub my way is the best way to get me to keep making stuff like this, so if you're interested in it, be really appreciated. Anyways, you have a good night.